Yes, you read the title correctly. I don't care, I'ma say it now. I think it's absolutely outrageous how my own people, by the way, I'm black. I don't understand why my own people are racist to white people.
You want to talk about real racism? I'll be honest. Black people are the most racist people, bro.
Oh yeah, I know.
They openly do it, and it's because and the reason why is because they're able to openly be racist with zero consequence, so they can say what they want to say. You know, like literally, I'll see them say the most deplorable things about white people, but they feel as that they can do it because of slavery and everything else like that. And I'm like, it's interesting because you guys perpetuate the very thing that you cry about the most. You guys perpetuate the very racism you claim white people are putting on you.
Bingo, and I call it black privilege. Many black Americans will complain about racism, say how horrible racism is, and then go and be racist. It's hypocritical. Now,
The propaganda that I will not fall for is that black people can't be racist, and black people need to stop saying that black people can't be racist, because yes, they can. And every single time someone says that black people can't be racist, but they can be prejudiced, that just doesn't make sense to me, because prejudice falls under the definition of racism. Because let's be honest, some of the things that groups like the Black Hebrew Israelites and the FBA tribal folks, the things that they say, it be outright racist.
Now, let's have an honest conversation, not a sugar-coated, feel-good version of events, but a real, uncomfortable, grown-up conversation about racism. For years, the public narrative has centered on one direction of prejudice, the idea that racism flows only from those who hold historical power towards those who have been marginalized. That's a big part of the story, yeah? But it's not the entire story. There's a side of the conversation that makes some people uneasy, even angry. It's the side that says racism is not an exclusive club that only certain people can join. Anyone, regardless of their skin color, can adopt, practice, and spread racist attitudes. And that includes black individuals too. Now, the moment I say that, some folks instantly hear it as a denial of history. They think it means ignoring centuries of oppression, colonization, slavery, segregation, and systemic bias. But that's not what I'm saying. Acknowledging the wrongs of the past doesn't require a turning blind eye to the wrongs happening right now, even if those wrongs are coming from people who once were or still are victims of injustice themselves. The reality is, when prejudice becomes normalized in any direction, it poisons the well for everyone. When we start justifying harmful words or action because our group has suffered, we begin to excuse the very behavior we've spent decades fighting against. That's not justice, that's hypocrisy.
Yes, you read the title correctly. I don't care, I'ma say it now. I think it's absolutely outrageous how my own people, by the way, I'm black. I don't understand why my own people are racist to white people. We have movements of being anti-racist and slavery is taught to everyone in primary school, secondary school. Okay, alright, cool. We are no longer in slavery times, right? But I don't care if I'm the first to say this. Black people are racist to white people. I don't know why it's so normalized for a white girl to be shamed by a black girl. I made a TikTok talking about the worst hair types, and everyone in the comments was saying I took my like away as soon as I saw the worst one. I said the worst one was 4C hair, and the others were more straight, more Caucasian, like people would say, style of hair. In the comments, I saw people of color just taking the piss out of white people. Now listen, the term white boy or white girl is said way too much. But as soon as someone turns around and says black girl, black boy, now it's a problem. A black person can describe someone as a white boy, white girl. But when it comes to a white person saying, oh, that's a black girl, that's a black boy, you all become so defensive. Racism from black people to white people is too normalized and it needs to be stopped. I have friends that their parents won't even allow them to marry a white girl. This is going way too far. How can you judge someone just because of their skin tone, bro? Racism goes both ways, but then when it comes to a black person being racist to a white person, it's normal. But then when it's a white person being racist to a black person, cancelled.
And here's the thing, this isn't about playing Oppression Olympics. It's not about tallying up who has done more harm or who has suffered more. This is about the simple truth that double standards never bring healing. If it's wrong for one group to stereotype, mock, or demean another because of skin color, it's just as wrong when the roles are reversed. But here's where it gets tricky. Society often treats racism differently depending on who is expressing it. We've built a culture where some forms of prejudice come with career-ending consequences, and others are brushed off as jokes, as justified expressions of frustration. That uneven standard doesn't fix the problem, it cements it. And within the Black community, this creates an even deeper problem. Because when we refuse to call out our own, when we shrug and say, well, it's not as bad as what was done to us, we give prejudice room to grow unchecked. The dangerous part is that it doesn't just target white people, it spills over into tensions with other communities of color, with immigrants, and even with fellow Black people from different backgrounds. If we want real conversation about equality, not just as a political slogan, not just as a rally chant, we have to strip away the comforting lie that racism only works one way. We have to confront the fact that anyone, including those who have been on the receiving end of hate, can turn around and dish it out. So today, I'm going to push into that uncomfortable space. I'm going to talk about how prejudice from within the Black community toward white people, toward immigrants, toward other Black people exists, and why it's often ignored, and why we can't afford to ignore it anymore. Because if we only hold certain people accountable for hate, then we are not building equality. We are just flipping the script. And flipping the script still leaves us with the same ugly ending. Now, let's talk about why this dynamic exists and why it keeps repeating. One major factor is history. For many, there is a deeply ingrained belief that prejudice coming from those who've been oppressed is not real racism. It's payback. It's speaking truth to power. It's emotional release. But the problem is that logic doesn't actually make sense when you think about what racism is. Racism isn't just a relic of old laws of political structures. It's the day-to-day act of devaluing someone because of their race, and that can come from anyone towards anyone. When we hide behind history as a shield to excuse hurtful behavior, we end up justifying what we would condemn if the skin tones were reversed. Another driver is lack of consequences. In many cases, when a white person expresses something racist, the fallout is immediate and often severe. Public outrage, job loss, social isolation. But when a Black person says or does something bluntly racist toward a white person or another minority group, the response is often muted. People may laugh it off, excuse it, or even applaud it as standing up for ourselves. This uneven accountability feeds the idea that certain people get free pass. And that free pass, it comes at a cost. It damages credibility when fighting against racism elsewhere. It's hard to call for justice while ignoring injustice coming from your own side. It's like asking your neighbor to stop littering while dumping garbage in your own backyard. What's worse is that this prejudice isn't a way aimed to those who historically held power. Sometimes it's aimed sideways at other marginalized groups. Sometimes it's aimed sideways at other marginalized groups. Black immigrants, brown immigrants, even other Black people from different countries or cultural backgrounds. They can become targets of suspicion, mockery, or outright hostility. Why? Sometimes it's insecurity. Sometimes it's a sense of ownership over suffering. The belief that our struggle is unique and outsiders don't understand or deserve to share in its own recognition. Sometimes it's resentment fueled by economic competition or misinformation or stereotypes we've absorbed without even realizing it. But whatever the reason, the result is the same. It creates division where there could be alliances. It erodes trust between communities who should be working together to dismantle the systems that harm them. We have to remember, unity isn't built by finding a common enemy to hate. It's built by finding a common humanity to protect. And if we can't even respect the humanity of people who share our skin tone, but not our passport, how are we supposed to convince the rest of the world to value us equally? This isn't about attacking the Black community. Don't get me wrong. It's about self-reflection. Every community has to police its own house if it wants to stand on moral ground. And yes, that means being willing to say what you just said was wrong, even when it's uncomfortable. The end goal isn't to pretend history didn't happen or to erase the reality of systemic racism. The goal is to make sure we are not recreating the same patterns in reverse, because the direction of prejudice doesn't make it less toxic. And if we keep avoiding this truth, we are not moving toward equality. We are just trading places in the cycle of hate. So where do we go from here? First, we have to redefine accountability. Real accountability doesn't pick and choose based on skin color. It doesn't say this person should face consequences, but that person shouldn't because their group has suffered more. Accountability is blind to skin tone, but sharp-eyed about actions. That means calling out racist behavior wherever it comes from. And yes, that includes our friends, family members, and our favorite celebrities, our own community leaders. If someone makes a demeaning comment about a person because they are white, or because they are, immigrant, or because they are from a different Black culture, we should challenge it the same way we would if the target were Black and the speaker were white. Second, we have to drop the idea that acknowledging racism within the Black community is, somehow a betrayal. In fact, it's the opposite. If you love your community, you want it to grow, to be respected, to lead by example. And leadership means taking responsibility for your own flaws, not pretending they don't exist. Third, we have to stop seeing prejudice as a form of empowerment. Demeaning someone else doesn't lift you higher. It just drags you down to the same level you claim to despise. The real empowerment comes from building something better, not from tearing others down. And here's the truth that's hard for some to swallow. Racism isn't always loud and obvious. It's not just racial slurs or outright hostility. Sometimes it's subtle. It's mocking someone's features, dismissing their experiences, refusing to work with them because of where they come from. These micro prejudice matter because they add up. They create a culture where division is normal and unity feels impossible. If we are serious about ending racism, we have to root it out in every form. And that includes the forms that feel harmless because they are aimed at people society sees as privileged. Now, I know some people will say, but it's not the same. There is no systemic oppression backing prejudice from Black people toward white people. And in some context, that's true. But remember, prejudice doesn't need a system to do damage. It can still hurt, still divide, still create cycles of resentment that make progress harder for everyone. The bigger picture here is that fighting racism means fighting the mindset that says color determines worth. And that mindset can live in anyone's head, no matter their background. The work ahead isn't easy. It means we have to unlearn habits we didn't even realize we had. It means having tough conversations with people we love. It means risking being misunderstood or accused of turning against our own. But the reward is worth it because the reward is integrity. The reward is building a movement for justice that actually practices what it preaches. Imagine a future where calling out racism isn't seen as an attack, but as an act of care, where communities hold themselves to the same standards by, same standards they demand from others, where solidarity isn't just a hashtag during a crisis, but a daily commitment to fairness and respect. And that's possible, but it starts with honesty, the kind of honesty that refuses to excuse wrong just because it's coming from the right side of history. The kind of honesty that knows we can't clean up the world if we won't even clean up our own house. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you hear someone in your circle saying something prejudiced, no matter who it's aimed at, speak up. Not to shame them, but to remind them that if you truly want equality, we have to live in it in every direction. Because the truth is, racism is not a one-way street. And if we want to reach the destination of justice, we all have to stop driving it, no matter what lane we are in. Guys, as always, drop a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Also, remember to subscribe, like, and share as well. And until next time, stay safe.